Welcome back. On this episode, we speak with three more extremely talented creatives. Roxanne Nickel, a mixologist, a poet, and then some. We hear from Kobena Ampofo, an actor based in Brooklyn who has appeared in Hulu's The Looming Tower, Boardwalk Empire, and more. We also hear from Florida-based reggae artist Billy Blade. We've got another packed show for you. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mila, and this is Africa Creative. Roxanne Nickel, a well-rounded creative African queen. Let's hear her fascinating story.
My black is 24/7. My black is 365. My black comes in many shades. My black is a whole vibe. My black is my culture. My black is my tribe. My black is the way I speak. My black is in the things I seek.
Hi, I'm Roxanne Nickel, and I'm an author, and I am a creative.
Intimate. Yes, I find you sexy. It doesn't mean I want to have sex with you. I just want to get intimate with you. I want to get to know you for you, the things that make you laugh out loud, the moments that make you cry, your good side, your bad side, your vulnerable, and your threatened side.
The focus of the book, I've always been a creative, as I say, because I grew up that way. My grandmother, who raised me from an early age, she actually nurtured my creativity. It started out in Jamaica where, you didn't have much toys to play with. So she used to work for herself. As a matter of fact, she used to work, she had a contract with John R. Wang supermarket, and we used to go to the supermarket on Fridays. She'd pick up these large boxes, and those would become my source of creativity as I would build my doll houses from those boxes. And she would, in Jamaica, we say cuss all the time, because every time she bought a new mop, I would pull out the mop strings to make the ears on my doll. As far as writing, that was nurtured from an early age because my grandmother didn't know anything else, but everything she gave you a book. So I learned to read early, started out at Tamarind Combe Library from the age of 2. We used to walk to the library every Friday to rent books, and she would sit. And then on Saturdays when we go to the market, they used to sell these little ABC books, so I started out with those. My grandmother, as I say, she was the biggest influence in my creativity. So I kind of owe that creative side to her in the sense that she nurtured it. And I think that even though some people believe no, in science they say the creative brain, you have the creative brain and the analytical brain that does math, and one side does math and one side is more on the creative. I think that it's not only a design by nature to be creative, it also takes nurturing, because you can born with a creative gene or the side of your genes or your brain that they say work, but if it's not nurtured, it's not developed. So creativity to me is as far as not only biology, but nurturing as well. For me, mixology is not anything new, as I said. With me, that's what they term it here. But if you grow up in Jamaica, on Sundays, your parents always make carrot juice with dinner, or they take the fruits from the tree and we make juice. So creativity, as far as mixology, wasn't something new in creating drinks. It just happened that when I came to New York, starting life over again, you realize that the society here is capital driven and you had to figure out a way to survive. A lot of my friends were doing babysitting jobs, taking care of other people, and I have no problems with that. That's what I do now, part of my job. I'm a nurse by profession, so I do take care of people. But I came here at 95 pounds, and at 95 pounds, I couldn't see myself lifting no elderly patient or even to handle a child. I don't think I was prepared for that. So it so happened that somebody introduced me to a manager of then said club in a nightclub in Queens. They had a restaurant called Moments. I was introduced to the manager after doing various other jobs in retail, and it so happens that I took on to bartending very fast. I didn't even start it out as a bartender or a mixologist. I started out as a waitress. My family was against bartending because I'm from a Seventh-day Adventist background. And in Jamaica, there is a stigma against bartenders, so to speak. So that was a hard sell. But then when I personally realized that I'm in a new setting and I have to figure out a way to survive, mixology became a means of survival. And I can honestly say until this day, I still tell people I'm a mixologist, and a mixologist to me is different from a bartender. I actually went to school to study how to mix drinks, and it doesn't actually hurt the fact that I already was introduced to flavors from a different age. It's no different from cooking. So just like you have a chef, mixology is just the other version, using juices or using mixes and alcohol when it comes to food being associated with chef. So mixology is associated with drink. So for me, it was a means of survival, and I can say it has afforded me a lot of things. My car outside, mixology bought that. Bartending bought that. It is paid off from years ago. So I don't knock it. I love it. I still, to this day, I do practice my craft. And even as we speak, in a few hours, I have to go do a consultation with a client. So it's just something that I stumbled upon, and like anything else, being a creative, once you start something, you want to be great at it, or you want to know everything about it. That's my background anyway. If I start something, I'm going to do something, I'm an in-depth learner, so I want to know everything about it. So I went to the ends to know about mixing different flavors and all of that, and I still do it today. When you come from a poor setting, you have to make do with what you have. So you tend to use your mind more than now. These kids have technology. Back in my days, we didn't have technology. Everything you did relied on your brain power. So relying on your brain power pushes you to the limits to build things, do things that to some people it's inconceivable. These kids nowadays, they can probably do things with a computer. I can't. But my kids will always ask me, Mom, how do you make this look so pretty? How do you think about that? I say it just comes natural because I was nurtured that way, because I use my brain more than anything than I use the machine. Nurturing for me years ago, building my doll houses, I just took an inkling to mixing colors, decorating. The most I've done in terms of decorating is decorating my own home. And every now and then I have friends who come and say, oh, can you do this for me? Or I tend to go shopping a lot with my friends. Or you have people who, I haven't even charged them, but people who ask me to go shop for them and do things and buy things that I think would work well in their home, especially my male friends and even some of my girlfriends. They're always asking me, oh, what do you think? Or if they're out shopping, they have me on video chat and they say, do you think this paint would work well? This paint would work well? Yeah, so that's kind of me. And even in my home, I like to say I'm the creative who don't spend a lot on a lot of things. I'm very frugal when it comes to my money. Because one, I don't have it, and I learned that you have to make do with what you have. So a lot of my pieces in here comes from repurposing or the thrift store. I love the thrifting. I love thrifting, so I go scavenger. I always say somebody else's trash is my treasure. So sometimes I'm walking in the neighborhood and somebody might throw out an old table, and then it becomes something I can repurpose. Even for my plant stands, I can put plants on them or just paint it over, and it becomes a piece in my house. So I really find that's how my creativity works, because I use my brain power. I don't rely on stuff. But if years ago you had asked me, I would be a designer, not a nurse, because I truly love that. So maybe in some aspect of my life, I'll incorporate it down the road. How can you forget where you came from? How do you know where you're going? Trees without roots will not weather the storm. Trees without roots are like birds without wings, fish without gills. How do you know where you're going? If you think about Africans, black people on a whole drive culture. So being black, I think, and of African heritage, of course, it definitely drives your creativity. I think African culture drives every culture you can see, even here in the Western world. Edison didn't invent the first light bulb, like they say. I mean, who invented it? A black man. So behind every design, everything you can see copied, it is now coming out things like music. If you think about Beethoven was a black man. They don't tell you that. But being African, definitely, and I'd like to think that science says that we're the first and the original man. So of course, all creativity comes from us. And I think that, I know back in the days, if you think about it, they used to say if you would blaspheme if you say you're a god. In my eyes, I was created in my creator's image. So I'm a goddess, so I can create what he created. The Bible tells us. But then if you twist it, it will make it seem that we're not the drivers of culture and the driver of creative things, but we truly are. Melanated people unite. Unite and claim your birthright. Unite, for your lineage is that of kings and queens, rulers of kingdoms many have never seen. Unite and trample the beast that has held you in captivity, the beast that has made you hate yourself and your kind, the beast that has made you lost your mind, forgotten where you came from and who your ancestors were. Melanated people unite. You know, I like to use the term, just flow with it. And why I say that? Because I'm not driven by any one thing, and that's what I find with my creative brain. And I can probably say for most creatives out there, they're not driven by any one thing, like, okay, they get up today and they say, oh, I'm just gonna write books. Most true creatives aren't driven by one thing. So today I might say, okay, I'm gonna write a book. Tomorrow I can venture off into something different. It might inspire a book, who to tell. So I want to keep the floor open by saying that if I'm going to do, and if and when, which I think more than likely, yes, I'll have another publication, but I don't know if it will be poetry. I can't really say off the bat it will be poetry. I can't say off the bat it will be a novel. It depends on where my creative brain takes me, and I just like to say flow with it. So I'm just gonna flow with it. I don't know about anybody else, but sometimes I get, like, I have friends who actually tell me, like, I'm kind of too black. I've had, if I must say so, I've been taken off jobs already because I'm too black. But that doesn't change who I am. I'm always going to be black. because black is my whole vibe and black is my culture. Black is everything I do. Black is in the way I speak. It's even in the book because the way I write. It might not be too much, it might be a little bit too much for some, but I think as an African descendant, I'm proud of who I am and nothing is going to change that. I can't change the color of my skin for sure, and I wouldn't even want to change that because that's what makes me beautiful and that's what makes me unique and that's what makes me who I am. But as far as influence, I would say it influences my professional life. Not really. In the profession that I currently choose, a lot of nurses are black. A lot of my colleagues are black doctors. Wish we had more black doctors and more in certain specialty areas and more at the top. So the aim is just to keep going. But as far as influence, I influence me. So everything else is relative.
The black woman. The black woman, she's strong, she's proud. She likes when you say her name out loud. She has a hue of many different shades. She has a glow only the gods could have made.
Being of African heritage, I think Africa is for Africans. Growing up Jamaican, you learn the motto that out of many we're one people. But when you study people like Marcus Garvey and what his work entailed and what he was trying to do, you kind of realize that it's not just about Africa as in the place Africa. It's about much more the African people and how we as African people, it doesn't even matter where you come from, who you are, what lineage of Africa you are from, you're still African people and trying to unite us. So that's my view of Africa, one people, like one nation, one black people, that's it.
You've probably seen him on the looming tower, perhaps on Boardwalk Empire. If you haven't, well, now's your chance to get up to speed. Let's hear from Kwabena and Pofo.
Occupy.
What do you know about a guy named Miskini?
Abdul Ghani Miskini.
Miskini.
Hello, my friends. My name is Kwabena Pofo, and I'm an actor based out of Brooklyn, New York. I have been on TV and in movies. Most notably, I've been in a show on Hulu called The Looming Tower, where I actually had to play a real-life character. I've been on Boardwalk Empire, Blue Bloods, and I just love acting in New York City.
You know what? You need to build up your camera gear. You can most definitely hustle weddings.
Me? No way.
Yeah.
So my first acting gig, I was actually in college. I had joined an acting troupe, and this was before I even really got into acting. Something just told me, you know what, join this acting troupe. See what it's like. And it was really dope. It was educational theater. We had to go and basically perform live in front of these other college students, and we teach them things about how the first year of college is gonna go, right? So, dealing with things like roommate issues, partying, drinking, all these different kinds of things. And it was live interactive theater is the best way to put it. And it was a really great experience because you have people who watch you perform and then, watching them watch you, but then also seeing that you can draw out different kinds of emotions from them. That's what really got the ball rolling for me. And I was like, yeah, all right, this is what I want to do. And so then after that, after I finished with that acting troupe, I came back home because I was in college in upstate New York. I came back home to Brooklyn, and that's when I just started getting into the industry. I started doing extra work. I just started grinding, just trying to learn as much as I could. And so I would say that the very first experience I had that was really monumental for me was my very first co-star role, which was on a show for PBS at the time called The Abolitionists, The American Experience, where I had to play an actual real life character. He was a former abolitionist, who literally escaped slavery and became very notable in the history books. And so for me, having to portray an actual real life character, his name was Anthony Burns, for me that was just powerful because I was on set and literally we're in a real area, a real jail. I had real like slave like shackles on me, and it was a powerful experience. Like all the people around me were really kind of just like more concerned for me because there was like, man, I have to put this, I have to put this African man in like shackles, and so everyone was like really just nice and really kind of just like sensitive about it. But it was for me that was like my first really big like powerful experience as an actor. So one day, literally, just as I'm doing, I'm hanging out, and my agent sends me an email, and I see this role come in, and anytime you audition for these things, they never tell you what it is. And so I'm reading the script, and I'm like, yo, why do I feel like this is Black Panther? And so, I doing enough research and everything, I'm like, yeah, this is Black Panther. And so I went in on this. So I worked with like a coach, and I just, I looked up the source material just so I could like learn more, just to like really dive into the character. And for me, it was just the audition process alone was just like a lot of fun. Obviously, I didn't end up getting the role, but that's okay because you can't get everything that you audition for. That's just the nature of the game. But for me, the work is in the preparation for the role and in for going in and just doing the best that you possibly can. My process for preparing for a role, any role I get. So first, I'll get the script. So usually I'll get sides, which is just a small section of the full script. If I can get the full script, that's preferable because then one of the most important things is having a much fuller picture of your character's place in the world. But let's just assume that I can't get the full script. And so I only have the sides to work with. So one of the things that I'll do is I will figure out certain things. So, how old is this, character, how old is this character? What's their background? How were they raised? So what do they want in this scene? Who are they trying to get it from? What are they going to do about it? Like figuring out the basics of who the character is, what do they want in this world, and how do they go about trying to get it? Once you really have a good understanding of those things, then everything else kind of falls into place. Because, it's like if I tell you, to go and talk to this person and get something, then you have a very particular way that you're going to go about trying to get this thing from somebody. Anytime you want something from someone, you try to do, you have a default, that you go to try and get things done. So what is that default for this character? How do they move through the universe? For me, that's probably the most fun out of anything when it comes to preparing for a role. It's coming up with a way, my vision of how this character chooses to move through the universe. Because as long as it's grounded in reality, it's gonna come out looking like, it's gonna be fun for you, it's gonna be fun for other people to watch. And so I think honestly, that's kind of like, that's the crux of it for me. One of my coaches, one of the things that he always says is characterization over memorization. So instead of trying to get the script and trying to memorize everything, I'll get the sides or whatever, and I'll be like, okay, what kind of character is this person? Because you have those people in your lives, right? If you think about, let's say that you think about your mom or your dad, right? There's a very particular way that you think about them. Are they very strict? Are they very goofy? Are they very quiet? Are they very outgoing? Like all of these different things, when you think of a person who means something to you in your life, you get a very strong visual of that person. And so my goal is to create a very strong visual in the viewer's mind of this character. And so that's the most fun part. Like what are this person's quirks? Like if I get a side, like a set of sides, and it's just one line, and the line is, okay, boss, right? Like some people go into the room and they could just be like, okay, boss. But then, like, how would you say, okay, boss? Like, do you say, okay, boss? Or do you be like, okay, boss? Or is it just like, okay, boss? Like, I mean, like it can be one line, but how does that character move through the universe? How will that character say that one line? And that makes a difference. For me, that's what makes a difference in a performance. It's like, okay, this person gave some thought into how this character uniquely moves through the universe.
Tom ain't standing for your red eye and giggling.
Yeah, we do hear you, Mr. White.
You need to hear me a lot louder. I want that mogul round. Kill it.
Honestly, I think so. When it comes to all the roles that I've done, I think the one that really kind of, stuck with me the most, it might really have to be the role for Black Panther, because the role, if you've seen the film, the role was portrayed by Winston Duke. It was for M'Baku, so he's the leader of the the guerrilla group, and it's just a very powerful role. And I think one of the things that was fun for me was just really, again, getting into that whole, how does he move through the universe? How does he lead? How does he present himself? And for me, one of the things that the physicality of it was, if I'm gonna do this, all right, so I'm gonna walk around, I'm gonna puff out my chest, that kind of thing. And so I found myself for a while after I had done it, I was just puffing out my chest everywhere I went. I'm just like, yeah, just like, just like kind of just like, now I didn't actually go around in the streets, just pounding on my chest, but it's that kind of mindset. It's that kind of, okay, this is who this character is. He's proud, and that's how he holds himself. That's how he carries himself. I think one of the most interesting things is that if you are working on a character and you kind of you choose a certain way, a certain set of mannerisms and how they carry themselves. If you are that character, portray that character long enough, it really becomes a part of your everyday, because it's something that you created.
But Zion, on the willows there, we hung our harps.
For there our captors asked of us songs. Our tormentors demanded songs of joy.
This industry is funny when it comes to who they choose for different roles and all those. I mean, in terms of opportunities, I feel that by and large, actors who are, and for lack of a better word, Caucasian, will tend to have more opportunities than other ethnicities, of color or whatever. And if we're talking specifically with African American actors, African actors, Black actors, it's a work in progress. That's the best way to put it. Progress is being made, but it's still very much a work in progress. And now, I think the tough part is that you have to, no matter what is stacked against you, or no matter what's in your favor, the only thing you can really do is go in there and do your best work. I feel as if though sometimes the flavor of the month changes. That's a different thing though, because sometimes they want Caucasian actors, sometimes they want Asian, sometimes they want Latin actors, and then sometimes they want African American actors. So it's ebbing and flowing. Sometimes you got some friends who are like, man, I can't stop getting auditions, and you're sitting there just like, really, dogs? But then other times, things come your way and they're not getting stuff. And so it ebbs and it flows. Again, for actors, of color, minority, that kind of thing, still definitely a work in progress. But the key word is that progress is being made. And so no matter what happens, the only thing that you can really do is go in there, do your best work, be as personable as you can be, advocate for yourself, advocate for your squad, and just always be willing to work. Africa means home. Africa means power. Africa means strength. Africa means love.
A reggae dancehall artist based in Florida, Billy Blade has to be one of the most committed and hard-working names in indie reggae music. Let's hear from Billy Blade as he talks about his origins, where he's at now, and the future.
No things where you go on, no fit go on, yeah man. Things where them a do, them no fit do, yeah man. Certain things a man a say, them no fit say, yeah man. Yo rude boy, you a hear me yeah, man.
Well, this is South Florida-based reggae dancehall artist Billy Blade coming at you. Easy.
Me get up this small if you hungry, yeah, man. Look and no money, just get fire, yeah, man. And two things around me would I rap too, man. But I cool me, easy, yeah, man.
Well, some of my early days as a musician starting out was basically learning the whole industry and how it works was a real eye-opener and really struggle, you know what I mean? When it just came out, you're under the impression, like most younger artists, you know, somebody's gonna discover you, you know, and then from there things are gonna happen and, you know, it's like all like a dream, but, you know, then reality hits and you know that you gotta put in the groundwork and you really got to put in the work, let people see what you're doing and let your work speak for yourself, you know what I'm saying? Let your work, let the music, and then from there, people will see eventually and people will gravitate and then that's where now people will start to take you seriously and start to say, okay, this guy look like he got something going. So that's what I started to do. Once I saw that the fairy tale side where, oh, I'm gonna get discovered and somebody's gonna, you know, put me on the track and I'm gonna blow up, I see that I had to put in the work. So once I started putting in the work, doing my own thing, making my own video, producing my own music and doing things independently, that's when I started to see some real results coming in.
Them a talk about them a bad man, them a real bad man, them a real bad man, them no real bad man, them a fake bad man, them no real bad man, them a...
My music, you don't know, man, I hear this a straight reggae dancehall. That's the base of my music. But growing up, you know, I've always had that influence with the disco, the pop, the R&B, the rap, and all of that. So most my music kind of, if you listen to it, you know, you're gonna hear all of those influences in my music. Besides the hardcore reggae, the hardcore dancehall, you're gonna see and you're gonna hear a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of pop, a little bit of rap in there. So that's Billy Blade music in a whole scope.
Now tell the lie, me say you loving all the truth. Plant a good seed so you got a good root. Love how your tree, it a bear a lot of fruits. So me not tell the lie, me why you bring all me youth.
But the message that I spread through my music, you know, goes from the everyday struggles in life to just, you know, the party and everything like that. And, you know, it's as an artist, it really, when somebody really relates to what you're saying in your music, it's a real feel-good moment and it really makes you feel like you're doing something positive. You know, I remember when this guy all the way from Canada, I didn't know anything, and he reached out to me and he said he loved my song Star Wars at the time, which is a song that pretty much speaks about government and world politics and all the wars that's happening because of greed and all of that thing. And he reached out to me and said, hey, I love that song, I like it. And now, as an artist, especially as an independent artist, that really make you feel like, wow, somebody is listening. And knowing that people are listening, it's important to get certain messages across. You know, besides the everyday party and them thing, you know. So the message in my music, important that those kind of messages get across in my music. You know, I got the Star Wars, I got Rise Up, I got Issues that speaks about things that are happening right now in the world and everything like that. So message is definitely important as an artist, as for me, to get through to the people.
No things what I go on, no fee go on, yeah, man. Things what them a do, them no fit do, yeah, man. Certain things them a say, them no fit say, yeah, man. Yo, rude boy, you a hear me, yeah, man.
Well, both young and old can learn from my music. Well, they can learn that I'm a very versatile artist, that I don't really stick to necessarily one subject or one focus. You know, my music, you know, it goes from the mild to the wild and everything else in between. You know, so when you're listening to my whole catalog of music, you know, you'll hear something very powerful, very insightful, and then you'll hear something that's very more on the lighter side, on the happy side. So you just really learn to kind of enjoy all aspects of life just through listening to my music.
Say what you say, what you say, what you say, girl. Hypnotize me. Do what you do, what you do, what you do, girl. Mesmerize me.
Some of my most memorable accomplishments in music, I think the first one was coming in third place during this musical event put on by Coast to Coast. This was a mostly saturated hip-hop, R&B artist kind of thing event in Miami, Florida, a couple of years ago. And, you know, being an artist, an independent, trying to get out there, you know, I'm the kind of person like anywhere I'm getting an opportunity to showcase my talent and what I can do, I'll take it. So, you know, I got a chance to participate in that event. I went there, it was packed, like I said, it was a ton load of hip hop, R&B artists. I went up there, do my thing. I was just there to pretty much network and just see what happened. But, you know, after all that, when they're announcing the winners and they called Billy Blade third place, I was like, whoa. I mean, I was kind of like stunned for a little bit, you know what I mean? Like the only reggae dancehall representing artist, representing the genre amongst all these other group of R&B, hip hop artists in the United States. It's not like it was somewhere else. So that was, to me, that was a great accomplishment. Even if coming in third place, it felt like I actually won that event.
Me a talk about pressure bus pipe. Me no really want your man fi catch a fight. And not my fault that a my vibe. You like me round the kind of girl jump on my bike.
What's important to me as far as being recognized in the music business or industry is more. It's just more of people hearing my music, relating to it. If people reach out to me, or I can see fans or people react, just their reaction to me and to the music, that essentially is definitely more rewarding, than even the money or the celebrity aspect of it. Is just when it comes to the nitty-gritty, when people really can relate to the music and really become a fan, and you can see that they're really into you. That's really a good feeling. I have experienced that so far, performing and people reaching out to me on social media, and I tell you that feels really good when someone can reach and say, hey, I really like this song, I just added it to my playlist. There's no better feeling like that, I think, to any artist than when somebody can reach out to you and let you know that your songs affect them so much, they like it so much, they're even adding it to their playlist. So that's one of the most rewarding things for me, I can say.
No things where you go, don't feel go on, yeah, man. Things where them a do, them don't fit do, yeah, man. Certain things them a say, them not fit say, yeah, man. No rude boy, you a hear me, yeah, man.
As far as what keeps me motivated and inspired, music to me is almost like a natural thing, it's innate, and just the everyday going on in life. I see something, hear something, always gives me an idea to go ahead and pursue some kind of music. If I hear an instrumental or a beat or something like that, I get inspired, I get motivated. So it's an ongoing process. Yes, there are times when you may not feel as motivated as you should be, but it's still there for me. So I'm always thinking, always going, and as long as I'm living and there's life and there's stuff happening in and around me, I'm always motivated to keep making music.
Drive me crazy. Baby, I just do it how you move, but me know half of you say me can't lose.
We really need to, pay our respects and really try to really uplift Africa and become one. You understand? I know, say, Africa is where you come from. Whether you're born in America, whether you're born, if you're dark skinned or you're black, Africa is where it all started.
Thank you for spending time with us. We'll be back soon with even more unique creatives originating from the motherland. Until then, remain creative.